What's up, everybody? My name is Ross. You may know me from Twitter, X, whatever you may call it. I post a lot of Liverpool content there, or threads, or videos, where I just, highlight players or talk about them, or sometimes I might do some banter. This video is just me to test out some stuff I want to maybe try on YouTube. So I hope this is a journey that is successful, and if not, at least we tried. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and rank all the Liverpool players from this season, the 24/25 season, based on their importance, their impact, and their potential, I would say as well. Okay? All right, here we go. First up, we have Alisson Becker. I will say there's been a couple of games that Alisson has had where he is maybe not, I don't even want to say the word struggled, but maybe not shown the level that we are used to with him, but that does not mean he is a bad goalkeeper at all. I will say maybe he has dipped a little bit, but he's still Alisson Becker. He's still amazing. So I'm going to put him in the A tier. I would say Alisson is still A tier. Kelleher, I also think Kelleher's had a great season. To be honest, he could probably be A tier as well. I think that's where I'll put him. He had his mistakes against Newcastle, but regardless of that, I think that's really the only game this season where he had a stinker. So, that's really not that big of a deal. It's just one game. But anyways, moving on. I do think he's leaving, so not really much we can do there. Next up is Trent Alexander-Arnold. This is a tough one, because Trent is amazing. I want to put him in S tier, but he's had a couple of defensive shockers, like where he's just not played well at all. I think Trent is an A tier player as well. I think he should be an S based on his talent when he's shown it. However, he's too inconsistent with his defending at times, so I'm going to put him in the A tier. Connor Bradley, I'm going to put Connor Bradley in B tier. He's just not quite at that level that Trent's at. I think he's a good player and he has a great future, but I just think he's not quite at that level yet. Next up, we have Tsimikas. I am going to put Tsimikas under the Cell tier. So, like D. Honestly, I think Tsimikas is a nice guy, great guy, but he's just not that impactful. Like, he's a backup left back, and our current left back is also struggling, Andy Robertson, and he's still behind him. I think it's time for Tsimikas to go, to be honest, and sell. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Next up is Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson, for me, is going in the C tier. He's a Liverpool legend. He's amazing. He's done so much for this club. But he's had a very big dip in form for the past, I would say, 2 years. But we've kind of rejected that idea or neglected it because he is a legend for us. But now it's becoming very evident that he is struggling. Maybe keep him as a backup left back for rotation and reserves, but I don't think he's at that starting quality Liverpool needs anymore. He's been a big factor for a lot of our goals we've conceded. Speaking of defense, next up is Virgil van Dijk, who I'm going to put immediately into S tier. In my opinion, I think Virgil van Dijk is our most consistent player, one of our most important players, because he's our captain, he's a leader, and he's the best defender in the Premier League, in the world at this point. I think he exemplifies everything that a defender should be. Smart on the ball, good passing, great in the air, smart defending. He's so fast. He's strong. He does everything that you need a center back to do. Next up is Konate. I'm going to put Konate in the S tier as well. I truly do think Konate is he's just under Virgil, because Virgil has other qualities such as, his passing and ball control, where I would probably put Virgil over Konate, but in terms of pure defending, I think Konate's amazing. He's so good with his timing, his tackles. He's just an all-around great center back, and it's been so evident this year. So S tier. Joe Gomez. This is tough. I actually really like Joe Gomez, and I think he's very underrated. However, his injury has knocked him down a couple of things. He's not a starter. I'm going to put him in C tier. I think he's a good backup for fullbacks and defense. He can play anywhere across the back line. But he's just not quite at that level he used to be, So, C tier. Kwanzaa, I'm putting Kwanzaa at the C tier as well. Honestly, I would love to see Kwanzaa maybe go on a loan and regain some confidence. He's had a big dip in form. He's just struggling to find any consistency, and it's really affecting him. So maybe a loan will do him some good. Endo, even though he doesn't start, every time he comes in, he puts in a great shift. So I'm gonna put him in the B tier. Center back, defensive mid, he does amazing. He's just a great player, consistent, and he doesn't complain. He doesn't have an attitude. You love those types of players. McAllister, I'm gonna put McAllister in the A tier because I think he's very underrated for everything he's doing in this Liverpool midfield. He's playing the double pivot with Ryan. He's also adjusting himself to play forward and come back when needed. He is very, very good. Passing wise, defensively, he's good at, pressuring and getting to the ball, tackling. I think, obviously, he can improve in some aspects, but for me, he's the second most important midfielder on our team. Right behind, guess who's next? Gravenberch. Now, Ryan, for me, is S tier. It's not even... Gravenberch is, in my opinion, the best midfielder in the world right now. And I'm not just saying that because he's on Liverpool. I've watched other players. I've seen, the Jude Bellinghams, the Valverdes, the Pedris, the other people who are having these claims as the best midfielder. You could even say people who are saying Caicedo. And I watch them, and they're great. They're good players. But Ryan has evolved this Liverpool midfield. I don't think people realize he was not meant to be playing the 6 this year, and now he is. And he is running the midfield. Whether he's creating space through his turns, whether he's just finding the open pass, he's so good at everything he needs to do. Defensively, he has improved so much. So many people last year were saying that, Gravenberch was kind of a panic signing because he was on the last day. He was terrible on defense. He wouldn't come back and help us. That one time Klopp got mad at him and yelled. That became a big thing on social media. Everybody was attacking him. And now this year, he's probably our best midfielder in terms of control, pace, and even his defensive efforts. He is the perfect midfielder, the best in the world, in my opinion. And then we have Szoboszlai, who I'm going to put at the B tier. I wish there was like a B plus tier, because I think him and Jones are both B tier. I'm going to put Jones in B tier as well. I think Szoboszlai defensively is amazing. His creativity has been a little questionable at times, but his work rate is out of this world. If he was able to just do both consistently, his creativity and his work rate, he would be the perfect player. I think he's got so much actually, I'm going to put Szoboszlai in A because he's got so much potential to be so good. I'm also rating this on potential, so I'm going to put him in A. Jones, I will stay at B. I think Curtis Jones has had some great moments, and I do think he's actually a lot more important to the team than people realize, because he can fill in at that double pivot, but he can also fill in at the 10, and he's just he's very smart, right? His one problem is he holds onto the ball too long, or he overthinks what he needs to do, and that can end up causing us to turn over the ball, to lose possession, or to make the wrong decision, because a lot of times players are just thinking in the moment and they're not thinking, like, what if all these different scenarios, situations happen. I think sometimes Jones gets worried about it and overthinks and maybe makes the wrong decision because he didn't make that quick decision in the moment. So that's my reasoning for putting him at B tier. Next up is Harvey Elliott, who I'm also going to put into the B tier. I think Harvey is an outstanding 10. Extremely creative. However, in terms of being a midfielder and his defensive impact, he struggles. Just to be 100% honest, he had that handball versus Plymouth. Sometimes his decision making from like a pressure point of what he should be doing to pressure the ball, to force an error, to force a turn, like a possession lost, he just doesn't do it. It's not fully there. Creative, like in terms of his creativity, amazing, great player. In terms of his ability on the defensive end, it's just not as high as the others. So I'm going to put him in B tier. All right, moving on. We have McConnell, a great midfielder. I'm going to put him in the C tier just because we haven't seen a lot of him, but when we did see him, he looked great. So we'll put him in C tier. He's very good for the cup games. He's not really playing much besides that, though. So, all right, now we're on to our attacking players. Whew. Okay, Mo Salah, S tier, not even a question. Ballon d'Or, he's got the best goal and assist ratio in this league in the world. He's leading it. I believe he has 46 now, and he, can't believe he even is questioning like if he'll be here next year. That's crazy. He's literally the best player attacking wise in the world. It's insane what he's doing this year. He's showing a different level of himself, and I truly believe he could hit 60 goals and assists this year. Next up, Luis Diaz. Oof. B tier. I think Luis Diaz started very strong, and then he started to fall off a little bit. I think him and Gakpo were going back and forth like, whoa, who's the best left wing here? Like, they're both balling out. And then, like, December, I would say, he just started to struggle, and he wasn't looking himself. And it's gotten into this year. He hasn't scored in 2025 yet, or assisted. And I think it's really causing him to lose confidence. It's causing Slot to maybe need some extra rotation for Lucho, even though he doesn't want that. He just wants Lucho to be the false nine role, and it's not working out like he thought it would. So we're going to put Lucho in the B tier. Chiesa. Oh, I love Chiesa, and I wish he played more, but because of his fitness, we have to put him in C tier. He hasn't been in the games like we thought he would be. He hasn't been as consistent. When he's on the field, he looks really good. But it does not justify how little we've seen of him, which is why we do need to put him in C tier. Cody Gakpo. Guys. Cody Gakpo, in my opinion, is one of our top 5 players this year, which is why I put him in the S tier. I think he is amazing as a left wing. He was an experiment under Klopp as a center midfielder, as a 9, as a right wing and a left wing, and it just never really worked out because he never got the chance to really show what he was capable of just on that left. And now that he's got that chance under Slot, he has cooked. Even the games when he's not registering a goal or an assist, he's still creating so many chances and threats that he's insane. And what's the craziest thing about all of this is that you have Van Dijk, Gravenberch, and Gakpo. 3 Dutchmen who are all, in my opinion, one of the best players on Liverpool right now. And if they continue this form, Netherlands could be very scary in 2026 World Cup. Just saying. All right, next up, Jota, C tier. Yeah, no. Jota's the same thing as Chiesa. When he's on, he has shown some good moments, and when he's not on, it's because he's injured and not able to play. And so, honestly, I'm going to put Jota in the sell tier. Actually, not even C tier, sell. I think he's got to go. We sell him this summer, get some money from it, and we move on. That's my opinion. He's just too injured. He's injury prone. We cannot have that as our backup striker or even main striker. Which leads us to our next striker, Darwin Nunez. Oh, I really like Darwin as a person. As a player, he is very frustrating. He has these moments where you're like, oh my goodness, he is creating these great chances, he's opening gaps, he's opening so much space, making incredible runs, but when he shoots the ball, you kind of think it's not going in, and you get a little worried, or you're just doubting his ability to get the ball in the net. Whereas with Salah, even Gakpo, you feel a lot more confident about their shot on target, and with Nunez, you don't get that. With that being said, though, his work rate is incredible, probably the hardest worker from our front 3. So I'll put him at C tier for now. Honestly, I think between him and Lucho, either one of them will be sold this summer. So I could see Darwin Nunez also being sold possibly, but we'll see. And then we have 2 more who I'm just going to be honest with, both going to C tier probably. It's Danz and it's Nioni. 2 great young players with so much potential, but they need time to develop. They're not quite ready for that big stage yet. So, yeah, that's my reasoning. That's my thought process. And that's, yeah, final take. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the final overall tier list. So if you look right here, we have S tier, Van Dijk, Konate, Gravenberch, Salah, and Gakpo. A tier, we're going to put Allison, Kelleher, Trent, McAllister, Soboslai. B tier, Connor Bradley, Wataruendo, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Luis Diaz. C tier, Rabo, Gomez, Kwanzaa, McConnell, Chiesa, Nunez, Danz, and Yoni. And 2 for sure sells, in my opinion, are Simicast and Jota. So that's my final thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you again next time. Peace!